A $517 monthly car payment doesn't cost you $517. It costs you $4.8 million in wealth you'll never build. The dealership knows this equation. They're just betting you'll never calculate it. The amount, $517 per month, 84 months. That's 7 years of your biological existence converted into interest and depreciation. The dealership calls this transportation. The wealth calculator calls this voluntary poverty. Here's what you're not calculating. $517 invested monthly from age 30 to age 70 generates $4.8 million. Your car payment isn't costing you $517, it's costing you $4.8 million you'll never hold. And here's what they're hoping you don't notice. 3 years old, 38,000 miles. That's where maximum depreciation has already occurred and maximum reliability remains intact. Someone else absorbed the value cliff. You inherit a functional asset at 40% of its original cost. If your net worth is below $1 million, you cannot afford new car depreciation. A new vehicle loses 20 to 30% of its value the moment you sign. That's $11,000 on a $40,000 purchase. Gone. Instant. This is where it gets expensive. You're already driving a used car. Even if you bought it 90 days ago, the title transferred, the depreciation occurred. So the question is whether you're willing to let someone else take the financial hit before you acquire it. Current vehicle manufacturers engineer for longevity differently. Some build for 300,000 miles, others for planned obsolescence at 120,000. Certain makes exceed 250,000 miles with minimal intervention, others require transmission replacement at 90,000. The showroom accident is real. The worst financial collision happens before you drive away. They sell you a $40,000 asset that's worth $28,000 the moment you own it. You just volunteered for a $12,000 loss. The original owner absorbed years 1 through 3. Steepest depreciation curve. You're buying the survivor. If it made it to 38,000 miles without catastrophic failure, it's going to make it to 200,000. Years 4 through 10 show minimal value loss. Pay attention to this next part. Payment freedom isn't a luxury, it's the baseline. The average millionaire hasn't had a car payment in decades. That's not because they're wealthy. That's how they became wealthy. They bought 3-year-old vehicles with cash. I drove them for 10 years. Repeated. 84 months is 7 years of breakfasts, 7 years of commutes. You're committing 7 years of your financial output to an object that will be worth 15% of its original value when you make the final payment. Quality used car identification requires specifics. Which engine in which model year, which transmission paired with which drivetrain. Because the wrong combination costs you $5,200 in repairs at 80,000 miles. The salesperson knows which combinations fail. They're not telling you. If you don't have cash now, you have 2 choices. Save for 9 months and buy with liquidity, or finance for 84 months and pay double. 9 months of delayed gratification costs you nothing but time. 84 months costs you $4.8 million in lost investment growth. If you cannot afford to lose 40% of a vehicle's value in the first 3 years, you cannot afford to buy it new. Below $1 million in assets, you absorb none. You buy 3-year-olds. You pay cash. You drive it until the repair costs exceed the replacement costs. The wealth calculator knows the formula. The dealership knows you don't. That's the information gap they're betting on. Here's how you close it. If you want the research template that shows you exactly which aggregators to use and how to build your comparison matrix, it's linked below. Subscribe so you don't miss the negotiation scripts in part 2. The person with superior information controls the transaction, but only if you weaponize knowledge before you step onto their territory. You're entering a negotiation where the other side has closed thousands of deals. Your advantage isn't experience, it's preparation. Whoever controls the data controls the result. Here's the research triad. 3 sources, non-negotiable. First, market value aggregators that dealers can't manipulate. Not Kelley Blue Book, that's dealer influenced. You need independent platforms that compile actual sale prices from real transactions. Second, vehicle history deep dive. You need to read between the data points. How many owners? How frequently it transferred? A vehicle that changed hands 4 times in 3 years is running from problems. A vehicle with a 6-month registration gap might have sat damaged. You interpret patterns. Third, competitive comparison matrix. You research 5 vehicles. Similar year, similar mileage, similar price range. You're building a spreadsheet that shows which one offers the best value per dollar. Here's the line you'll never hear them say. You don't walk onto a lot and fall in love. You study for 48 hours minimum before you see the vehicle in person. Excitement is expensive. If you show up already attached, you've already lost. The base model with aftermarket upgrades costs $14,000 less than the factory luxury package. Same vehicle, same engine. You're paying $14,000 for dashboard trim. You can install heated seats for $800. The dealership charges $4,000 for the package. And now the math gets uncomfortable. Common problem research reveals which model years have catastrophic failures. Forums, technical service bulletins, class action lawsuits. If the 2019 model has widespread transmission failure at 70,000 miles, you avoid it. If the 2021 model fixed it, you target it. Dealer inventory tracking gives you leverage. Monitor their website for 30 days, watch which units sit. A vehicle on the lot for 60 days is a problem. Their desperation becomes your negotiation advantage. And here's what they're hoping you don't notice. If you can't explain the vehicle's engine options, safety ratings, and common failures to a stranger in under 3 minutes, you haven't researched enough. The salesperson will hear your uncertainty. They'll exploit it. But watch what happens when you mention this, the insurance pre-quote. You call your carrier with the VIN before purchase, you get the exact premium. Some vehicles cost twice as much to insure. A $7,000 purchase with $2,000 annual insurance is actually a $9,000 first-year cost. Service record acquisition happens before money changes hands. If they don't have records, you assume it wasn't maintained. A vehicle with religious maintenance survives. A vehicle with deferred maintenance fails expensively. Technical service bulletins are manufacturer admissions of problems. They're known issues that don't meet recall thresholds, but they're documented, searchable. You look up the year, make, and model. You read every bulletin. When they claim a feature is rare, they're lying. Production numbers are public. You can cite them, watch their faces change. When they say the price is firm, you reference 3 comparable listings at lower prices. You're presenting data. Data doesn't have emotions. Online research takes time. 48 hours minimum. Most people spend 15 minutes thinking they're prepared. When you finally see the vehicle in person, you're verifying research, not conducting it. The research armory isn't optional. You negotiate once every few years. They negotiated 5 times today. When you know more about the vehicle than they do, the power dynamic shifts. You have the data, you know the market rate. Now comes the part where most people surrender, because having cash and using cash are 2 completely different psychological states. Financing is not a convenience. It's a voluntary reduction of your lifespan converted into interest payments. Cash is the only position that cannot be manipulated. You think financing is normal because everyone does it? Normal and intelligent are not synonyms. Cash is controlled. Financing is surrender. Here's what financing actually means. You're borrowing money to purchase an asset that loses value. Your loan balance stays fixed. The vehicle's value drops monthly. Within 18 months, you owe more than it's worth. The liquidity enforcer calls it financial captivity. The financing trap is designed to feel affordable. $517 monthly doesn't sound catastrophic, but your car payment is paying for something that's worth less every time you make a payment. This is the moment they're trained for. Save for 9 months and buy with liquidity. Or finance for 84 months and pay double. 9 months feels long when you want the vehicle today, but 9 months costs you nothing but patience. 84 months costs you $4.8 million over 40 years. Determine your vehicle budget. Divide by 9. That's your monthly savings target. In 9 months, you have $4,653. That buys a reliable vehicle outright. But here's what no one tells you. Dealers offer lower prices to cash buyers despite preferring to sell financing, because cash closes immediately. When you present cash, you're eliminating their risk. The financing bait and switch works like this. They advertise a low price. You arrive, they say that price requires financing through their preferred lender. If you pay cash, the price increases. This is psychological anchoring. You already saw the low number, you already imagined ownership, now they're holding it hostage. You walk away. They call you back within 48 hours. Credit score becomes irrelevant when you operate in cash. They can't use your approval odds as leverage. Cash eliminates the variables they control. You're negotiating one number, purchase price. That's power. You don't walk in announcing you have cash. You negotiate the price first. Once agreed, you reveal the payment method. Physical cash works differently. Stacks of bills on a table create urgency. Private party sellers hesitate. They worry about scams. Physical cash eliminates all concerns. You meet, you inspect, you hand over currency, they hand over the title. Opportunity cost visualization requires honesty. $7,000 in car payments over 5 years, or $7,000 invested at 8% annual returns. The investment becomes $10,300 in 5 years, $31,700 in 20 years. You're choosing between temporary utility and permanent wealth. If paying cash depletes your reserves, you cannot afford the vehicle. You need 3 to 6 months of expenses in liquid savings. Without reserves, you're one crisis away from financial collapse. The vehicle can wait. The financing approval process gives dealers information leverage. They pull your credit. They know exactly how much you can afford. They price accordingly. Cash buyers reveal nothing. And this is why you keep losing. Financing makes you a repeat customer. When that term ends, you're conditioned to have a car payment. They'll refinance you into another vehicle. You never escape. The liquidity enforcer breaks the cycle. One cash purchase, no return visit. Year 1, without a payment, you save $6,204. Invest it. By year 7, when the financing buyer makes their final payment and owns nothing, you've accumulated and invested $43,428. The financing buyer has a paid-off vehicle worth $12,000. You have $43,000 invested plus your paid-off vehicle. Cash is the only path. Financing is a trap you choose. Cash is freedom you earn. How much is 7 years of your life worth to you? Comment below, are you currently financing a vehicle or do you pay cash? And if you're financing, what's your monthly payment? I'm tracking a pattern in the responses. You have the research. You have the cash. Now you need the discipline to say 7 words and then stop talking. Those 7 words will save you $4,000. But only if you can tolerate silence. The silent operator doesn't negotiate with volume, you negotiate with restraint. The dealership has trained their staff to fill silence. They interpret your silence as weakening. They'll offer concessions to end the quiet. You just sit there. You wait. Here's the 7-word script. This seems high based on my research. Then you stop. You don't explain. You don't justify. You present the statement. You wait. They'll ask what you found. You don't engage. You repeat. They'll move first. Silence tolerance training starts before you arrive. Practice sitting still for 60 seconds without speaking. The person who breaks first loses leverage. You're training yourself to endure discomfort because discomfort is cheaper than overpaying. The walkaway threshold is your maximum price. You decide before you see the vehicle. An exact number. If they won't meet it, you leave. You stand up, you thank them, you walk out. This isn't a bluff. Bluffs get called. Boundaries get respected. Online negotiation removes psychological pressure. Email-based offers create paper trails. You send your offer in writing, they respond in writing. There's no body language to read. You're negotiating from your kitchen table, not their showroom. Most dealers hate email negotiation. That's why you use it. The manager myth needs exposure. Let me talk to my manager is theater. They leave you sitting for 12 minutes. Not to get approval, to let you marinate in commitment. The manager already approved the deal structure before you walked in. When they leave, you check your phone. You review your research. Body language reveals everything. Lean back, not forward. Crossed arms, signal skepticism. Sustained eye contact shows confidence. They're reading you while you're reading them. You're not excited. You're evaluating a commodity transaction. The trade-in separation is mandatory. You never mention your current vehicle until after negotiating the purchase price. Because they'll blend the numbers. Separate the transactions. Sell your current vehicle privately. Buy the new one separately. Multiple dealer strategy creates competitive pressure. You get quotes from 3 dealerships on identical vehicles. You tell each dealer you're getting competitive bids. When dealer 1 offers $32,000, you tell dealer 2 you have an offer at $32,000. When dealer 2 offers $31,500, you go back to dealer 1. The time weapon. You limit your showroom visit to 30 minutes. You tell them up front, I have 30 minutes. If we can agree on price, we proceed. If not, I have other appointments. This destroys their closing rhythm. Inspection contingency language matters. I'll agree to this price contingent on a pre-purchase inspection by my mechanic within 48 hours. If issues arise, we renegotiate or I walk. They'll resist, you don't care. Your mechanic, your inspection. If they refuse, the vehicle has problems. The email negotiation template is simple. I'm interested in year, make, model, VIN. I've researched comparable sales. I'm offering exact amount cash. This is my best and final offer. If acceptable, I'll schedule an inspection and close within 72 hours. You send this to 5 dealers, 1 will accept. Contract language gets audited before signing. Line by line, you're looking for added fees, dealer prep, destination charges, documentation fees above your state's maximum. But here's what they're betting on. You're exhausted. You just want the keys. That's when they bury the $4,000 profit extraction. You cross them out, you initial the changes. If they won't remove them, you leave. This is where it gets expensive. The finance office is where they recapture profit. You negotiated the vehicle price. Now they're selling you products with 80% profit margins. Gap insurance for $900, that costs them $120. Extended warranty for $3,000, that costs them $700. And when you say no, the finance manager's commission drops. Their quota suffers. That's when the real pressure starts. The silent operator doesn't react. Just say no. The walkaway isn't a negotiation tactic. It's the logical conclusion when your research says one price and they're demanding another. You genuinely have other options. You researched 5 vehicles. You're not attached. Silence works because they're quota driven. Every unsold vehicle is a missed target. When you sit quietly after delivering your offer, their brain is calculating. Can they hit their number? The longer the silence, the more they calculate. The silent operator doesn't explain, doesn't justify, just states the offer and waits. The person who speaks first after the offer usually loses. They blink first because they have more to lose. You've researched, you've saved, you've practiced silence, now you execute. With precision, they have a cost basis. You have a maximum price. The overlap is the deal. If there's no overlap, there's no deal. You negotiated the price. You're paying cash. The contract is printed. This is where they recapture everything you just saved. The verification protocol is the last defense. The final inspector doesn't trust. You verify. Every line, every number. The dealership needs you to sign quickly. You're focused on ensuring the contract matches the negotiation. Here's the pre-purchase mechanical inspection. You're spending $150 on a diagnostic before money changes hands. Your mechanic? Full diagnostic with compression test, fluid analysis, computer scan. If they find a $3,000 problem, you just saved $2,850. Contract line item audit happens in silence. They hand you the contract. You sit there and read every single line. They'll try to rush you. You don't care. You're looking for dealer prep fees, destination charges, documentation fees above your state's maximum, VIN etching, fabric protection, products that mysteriously appeared. Pay attention to this next part. The finance product refusal script is non-negotiable. Gap insurance, extended warranty, tire and wheel protection. Your response every time? No, thank you. I've already considered these products and declined them. Not, I'll think about it. Declined, past tense. Insurance carrier verification happens before signing. You call your agent with the VIN and final price. You get the exact annual premium. A $7,000 vehicle with $3,000 annual insurance is actually a $10,000 first-year expense. Some states allow cooling off periods, 72 hours to cancel a vehicle purchase. Not all states, but some. You need to know if your jurisdiction provides this protection. Usually, it's not driving the vehicle off the lot. You ask before signing. Dealers lie about this because contract cancellations cost them sales credits. Title and registration fee validation is simple. You look up your state's DMV fee schedule online. Those are fixed government charges. If the dealer is charging 3 times the published amount, they're padding. You cross out their number, you write the actual DMV fee. The second key demand applies to used vehicles. If they don't have 2 keys, they either provide 2 keys or reduce the price. A key costs $250 to $450. That's not your problem. Service record acquisition happens now, or the price adjusts. And if they refuse, they're hiding catastrophic repairs or selling you deferred maintenance. Either they provide documentation or they reduce the price. A vehicle without records gets treated as zero maintenance. That costs $1,000 to $1,500. Subtract that. Warranty transfer confirmation matters on newer used vehicles. You're verifying it transfers to your name properly. Sometimes warranty coverage they claim transfers doesn't. You're calling the manufacturer with the VIN. The dealer's assurance means nothing. The post-purchase insurance audit catches back-end manipulation. You compare your premium quote to your actual policy. Sometimes rates increase because the dealer added theft protection devices. You're watching for discrepancies. Post-purchase state inspection requirements get handled immediately. Some jurisdictions require testing within 30 days. If it fails, you now own a vehicle you can't legally operate. That's a $7,000 asset you can't use until you pay for repairs. You're confirming inspection status before money changes hands. You're exhausted by the time you reach the finance office. Now they're presenting a 15-page contract in 8-point font. They're hoping you'll skim. The final inspector doesn't skim. You read, slowly, out loud if necessary. Lien release confirmation applies to used vehicles sold by dealers who took them as trades. Sometimes the previous owner's loan wasn't fully paid off. The title shows a line. The dealer claims it'll be released after your purchase. That's not acceptable. You need a clear title at time of sale. The final walk sequence happens if anything doesn't match. Price is wrong, products added, fees inflated. You stand up. You state clearly, This contract doesn't reflect our agreement. When you have paperwork that matches our discussion, contact me. Then you leave. 80% of the time, they call within 4 hours. 20% of the time, you buy from someone else. The verification protocol isn't paranoia, it's due diligence. They're processing dozens of transactions monthly. Errors occur. Your job is to verify accuracy. You did the research, you brought the cash, you negotiated the price, you verified the contract. Now you own a vehicle that won't steal 43 months of your life. Remember that number from the beginning, 43 months? That's what you just kept. The dealerships are counting on you skipping verification. You just refused. That's 43 months of your biological existence they'll never reclaim. And if this changed how you see car buying, share this to someone shopping this week. The dealerships are counting on them signing today without running the numbers. You just gave them the 43-month calculation. Forward this before they walk onto the lot. The wealth calculator just won. So ask yourself, what are you going to do with those 43 months they didn't get? Thanks for watching.